Hey everybody, this is Ethan here with JD, and we're back at you with another episode of the Coronavirus Sports Boredom Show. Things starting to open up a little bit. We're still out here talking sports. Want to be bringing you at least weekly content. Want to be bringing you at least weekly content. At least weekly content. At least weekly content. What's going on, everybody? Back here with the Coronavirus Sports Boredom Show. If you love sports, you're in the right place. This is Ethan here with JD, and we're going to start it off with breaking news from the MLB tonight. Unable to reach an agreement with the MLB Players Association, and they're going to go ahead and proceed with the March 26th agreement, meaning we'll have up to 60 games of baseball. Obviously, the sides would have loved to come to an actual agreement, but that's just not to be, I guess. So, barring strike, however, there will be baseball. So just thought we'd get that out of the way. And
Well, American baseball. There's already baseball, but American baseball.
Korean baseball is truly great. The NC Dinos running into a little bit of a rough patch lately, my team. But we're still in first place by 3.5 games over Doosan and LG, so we're in good shape.
If you do want to talk about international sports, what I've been loving watching, I know you have been watching it too, is the AFL, bro.
Bro. Australian football. I know JD and I, we've kind of been slightly familiar with it, but we're really digging this game, man.
I know. I like it more than ever.
AFL, Aussie rules football, we're not going to go ahead and explain it. That's not what we do. So, but definitely go put yourself through a crash course about how the game works. It's kind of like rugby, but it moves a heck of a lot faster. Super cool game. So go ahead, pause the video, do that if you'd like. But what we are going to do is we're going to break down the top teams in Australian football. So our top three power rankings. So, JD, why don't you start us off with your number three?
Well, first of all, I want to say Super Rugby in Australia is pretty epic too. But anyways, with the AFL, from what I've seen outside of standings, I saw the Suns and Crows the other day. The Suns completely annihilated, man. So I after watching them, I have a hard time not putting them at my number one spot.
Oh, really?
Just because I saw them. That's the only reason. Because I've seen who did I catch? That team with the stripes that had nice uniforms.
It was that game the other night we watched. That was Gold Coast Suns versus Adelaide Crows, right? And it's worth noting. Well, the Suns did put on a show. They have a ton of entertaining young players and whatnot. Adelaide is the last place team in the league right now. So.
Well, yeah, that's true, but still, if you looked at the not even just the chemistry, they were flawless almost.
It was.
I don't know. I like the Suns because I watched them and they did good. It's like watching when the Rockets beat the Lakers. You know how it is.
Okay.
So I'm just gonna put that out there.
Okay.
Who do you got at number one? And you're probably gonna do the record wise, but who do you got?
Yeah. So obviously it's early in the season. I don't have too much information. I'm kind of a newcomer to the sport, but if I would go with the number one right now, I would go with the top team in the league, standings-wise, Port Adelaide. And that's not just because they're the only undefeated 3-0 team at this point through the first three rounds, but their percentage, which is kind of like the point differential, the way it's formatted in Australian football, is that you take your points scored, divide it by points against, and multiply it by 100. So their percentage is 243.8. No other team is above 200. So that means for every point that they're conceding to the other team, they're scoring 2.4 at this point. I don't think that's sustainable. They'll be able to keep it up, but that team has been completely dominant. So I got to give Port Adelaide the number one.
You got to look at who they're playing too. I'm new to the sport too, but some of the teams they played, I think it was their second game. They're playing decent teams, but they're not. Put it this way, it was in golf terms. They're just making par.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, sure.
So.
Still, it's been a pretty dominant par, if that's how you'd like to look at it.
Well, yeah, I have them at my number two because I like watching the Suns, but number two is fine with me because when you look at record's always important. Obviously, I agree.
Yep. And
But
my number
nonetheless, nonetheless, any of those teams can emerge. It's the beginning. It's everything. It's
for sure.
new too. Not as many fans. So
For sure. My number two, and they did have 2,000 fans back. NASCAR with 5,000 today. We'll get to that, of
Yep.
course. But my number two, I'll have to go with the other team without a loss. Collingwood also putting up a very impressive percentage, 189.7%, with 10 points through their 3 matches. Definitely, in my opinion, the second best team at this point. And my number 3 slot, though possibly number 1 for years to come, I got to go with Gold Coast, the Suns. We did see their performance against Adelaide absolutely terrific. Couple of young players, 18, 19-year-old guys who are just really exciting to watch.
oh,
Really good
especially
players.
Powell. Especially Powell.
He is a beast. Couple of guys who are just really good, young. They'll be good for years to come. They have a chance to be the number 1 team before long. So that's my top 3, but also shout outs to the North Melbourne Roos, the Kangaroos, the Kangas. That is my team for sure. You got to love those blue and white stripes. It's epic. The name Kangaroos, I mean, come on. Like, you just.
That's who I have at number 3, actually, surprisingly.
Oh, really?
Is New Wellington. So, I mean, maybe it's a surprise, but I mean they look pretty. I mean, sure they lost when I watched them the other day, but they looked like they were a couple pieces away from really clicking.
Yep.
So this is a power ranking, so just
Yep. Sure.
arbitrary opinion. So
it's not a standings. It's what the standings are going to look like.
Exactly. And also when you just spoke of NASCAR with the 5,000 fans, I have ESPN on in the background, even though I've been turning them off lately just because, in my opinion, they haven't been doing the best job. But anyways, Fox Sports 1 has my attention with AFL. But they just had NASCAR on. They're showing right now with Bubba Wallace and all the fans behind him. It was a cool moment. I mean, today.
Sure.
It was a great moment.
Yep.
And great finish to the race with Blaney winning too. So
yeah,
I mean,
for real.
what are your thoughts on the race today? I mean, it's pretty. I ain't watch. I didn't get to see. I was watching some highlights, but
yeah. NASCAR been a ton of fun having it back, and Talladega it definitely delivered. Obviously you got to start out with the moment with Bubba Wallace, Richard Petty. If you haven't seen, some of the hate he's been receiving for trying to affect change, and so to see everyone in the sport literally behind him as he took that picture, I just think that was so cool. And then the fans at the end, great moments, but the race itself definitely delivered as well. Photo finish with Blaney just beating out Stenhouse. We had a wrecks, 2 of them on the final lap. Because that's the thing about Talladega. You're going to have cars, running in lines, nice orderly racing, but at the end of those 500 miles, there's going to be jockeying for position. When you're trying to do that at 200 miles an hour on the world's longest, fastest, and baddest super speedway, it's going to get ugly. So that was a ton of fun, that race. Definitely worth to watch.
I think I was muted there. What the heck? Anyways, sorry. Anyways, what I was going to say is, the other day I was watching FS1 and on Sunday actually, because the race was supposed to be Sunday obviously, but they were showing the 2010 Talladega, that was where you're just talking about crashes. I mean, that was probably one of the best races that you go down in history. But early in the race, Kyle Busch trying to gain position, he tapped the guy and had I forget who he tapped. This guy was started with the L, I think, but he caused pretty big crash. 4th caution in the first 23 laps, but Talladega's
Talladega for you.
That's what I was gonna say. That's Talladega.
No
It's known for being
no stages, just 4 crashes in 23 laps.
It's known for being basically the most ferocious track. So, I mean, today with Bubba's, that was a great moment for Bubba. But I mean, even to see fans, receiving fans was great, and it was a good race. Again, I only saw the highlights, so I can't go into much detail about it. But the worst part of it was that I saw Kyle finished. Oh, Kyle.
Yep.
I don't even know what to say. I'm just hoping for one of my 2 favorite racers, and I like Joe Gibbs racing. So Denny finished up there, but I don't care for him as much. But still.
I mean,
Kyle's
we'll talk about this later in the show, but I guess now that you bring it up now, Kyle Busch entering this race was 9th in the standings. Has not won yet this year. He has not been to victory lane. Lot of late race struggles, the loaded schedule maybe hasn't helped him. Do you think that it's time to have a little bit of concern? Is it time to hit the panic button yet on Kyle Busch?
Here's the thing. It's never time to hit the panic button on anyone unless you're a Lakers fan and you're watching the Lakers. That's the only difference.
What?
I'm joking. I'm messing. Yeah, it's not time to hit the panic button. Kyle's just everything is new. It's a different atmosphere. It's a different feel. It's a different environment. And he raced 3 races one weekend.
Yep.
And coming up here in Ponoco, this is gonna be a back-to-back. So I think I'm predicting this. I think Kyle gets a top 3 on the first race in Ponoco. He has some pressure on him. If he doesn't, he'll definitely get a top 10. I'm thinking 2, 8, or 5. Those are my numbers. Then Sunday, he takes it home.
All right.
He takes it home. So, and if he doesn't,
So
all I gotta say is for a Kyle Busch fan, who I like.
So it is almost time.
My heart's racing. Put it that way.
Hey, I don't
There's
know.
still there's still plenty of time to gain it up, but he needs good points coming up.
Here's the thing, though. I mean, the dude. I think the schedule's been tough on him. Trying to run the Xfinity races, truck races, and all those condensed. It's tough on him when he tries to run all those races. But he's still in the playoffs. He's still pretty much one win can get
That's the most
all the
important
way
thing.
into the NASCAR playoffs. So I'm not worried about him. I think as long as he's ready to go come playoff time, he'll be fine. Like you saw the run today. He's running up in the top 3, and then he has a tire problem late, and he ends up finishing like 32nd or whatever. So he's had good runs. He's put together good runs. I think Kyle Busch is going to be okay, but I can imagine as an active Kyle Busch fan why you could be a little bit scared. And one more thing about the Pocono races this weekend. We talk about how Kyle Busch is maybe getting run down trying to run all these races. Well, for the first time that I can remember, NASCAR running 2 races in the Cup Series in 2 days, I think he's going to be a hell of a lot more prepared for that because of all the races he's been running. So for him to pull one out on Sunday after running a full race on Saturday, I think is a very good prediction, is a very real possibility for him for sure.
What I was saying was he's a veteran, and so after you do the race once, the second time we've seen it with Jimmy Johnson in the past years having so much experience compared to a lot of the guys, especially when Kyle was younger. So I think experience is going to come into play too. But again, what you said, when playoff mode hits, there's something that turns on, especially for Joe Gibbs racers. We saw it last year. I mean, even at Homestead, Kyle does great. When he just raced at Homestead, he didn't do bad. I think come playoff time, it's just a different atmosphere. For some reason, those guys click in. The experienced guys, especially Joe Gibbs racing for some reason. I don't know. The Camrys must like playoffs, I guess. Beats me, but they race good. That's a fact. But I don't know. There's a lot of guys who are young, rookies. Not rookies, I shouldn't say, but amateurs compared to, Kyle and everyone. But some guys can make some big headway this year. We could see. I'm sad to say this, but I think we're gonna have a real young winner winning it all this year because there's some racers who are competing big time here.
A lot of talent for sure. A lot of young, some of these rookies, man, like Cole Custer, Tyler Reddick. NASCAR youth movement is on, but I don't think Kyle Busch.
I do not like Reddick. Why
not, dude? Anyway.
Ooh, just don't like him, bro.
Anyway.
I'm gonna put that out there.
We got one more topic in NASCAR to talk about, and that's the NASCAR Hall of Fame recently announcing our latest class.
Yes.
Headlined, of course, as everybody's going to see it, by Dale Jr., but as I'll get to in a minute, a couple of other guys that I really like, Red Farmer and Mike Stefanik. So what are your thoughts on these 3 guys, kind of an unsung hero? What do you got?
Well, obviously Dale was the, obvious big choice headline and all, but obviously he's earned his way. We've seen Dale throughout the years. I didn't care for him that much. I got respect for him, but when he was racing, I watched when I was younger, some NASCAR, and, it's one of those guys like that you respect, but you just don't care for that much.
I mean, here's the thing, like, how can you dislike Junior though?
See, here's the thing. Here's the thing. I only disliked him because he was good and he was competing, and I wanted my racers to win. You know what I mean. But see, I don't dislike him for no reason. Like, he said something or he did this, blah blah blah.
Yep.
I'm just saying because he's a competitor and he raced
Exactly.
good.
And in a way
He was
that's
always
kind
he was
of
always up
respect,
there
right?
competing against the guys I love. So
Yep. I was a diehard Jeff Gordon fan growing up, man. I mean, he was my
Jeff,
boy.
yeah.
But I always cheered for Junior and Jimmy too. You know, the Hendrick stable. But
Well,
anyway.
and I remember even seeing Jamie McMurray was always funny when he was always around with all those old guys, you know, back in the day.
Yep. Oh yeah.
Good time. Even Paul, I remember Paul Menard. He was always back in the pack, and sometimes he was up close. And like, oh dang, Paul Menard's in the top 10.
That Wood Brothers car, man. Hey, Matt DiBenedetto bringing that back. But anyway, staying on topic here, Hall of Fame class.
Yeah, about the Hall of Fame class too. But Dale definitely earned his way in there. But the other two guys inducted, I mean, they're in that. Obviously, NASCAR, there's not as many people that you can be inducted in. But I think this year that they showed that just because, sure, Dale was put on center stage, if you know what I mean. Like
Yep.
he was out there, but just because you don't have, I think what the major takeaway that I took away was you don't have to be that guy that's straight famous. Everyone knows who Dale Jr. is in NASCAR, but you can still be you can have your own brand and get in, and that's why I think.
Yep.
That's my takeaway from their inductees. So that's my 2 cents about it.
So yeah, Dale Jr., some people are saying this is too early for him to get in. Dale Jr. should totally be in the Hall of Fame.
Of course.
His reputation he's built up, his legacy is part of what makes him great. But he was also great on the track. So, big ups to Jr. He totally deserves this. But I also want to shout out the other two guys. I'm always one for the unsung heroes. I want to sing their song. And Red Farmer, Mike Stefanik, two guys who really left a legacy as well. Red Farmer, his best years were before NASCAR and before racing became so centralized, so official. So we remember some of his performances in the 70s where he was okay, right? He was a good racer.
Well, he's vintage. He's vintage, yeah.
But back in the day, it's estimated he won 500 to 700 professional races. That is something that even Richard Petty cannot touch. I mean, his record, obviously, and some of it was against lesser competition, unofficial races and whatnot, but his sheer skill and record is unbelievable. There's no doubt that had he been in his prime in the 70s and the 80s, even when we had some of those all-star lineups, he would still be a Hall of Fame caliber driver. And then Stefanik, an absolute legend in the modified cars. I think it's really cool how NASCAR branching out a little bit by recognizing a dude who never even ran in the Cup Series, who is just such a beast at racing modifieds that he deserves to be a Hall of Famer. So, and rest in peace, Mike Stefanik passed away recently, I believe earlier this year. So, big ups to all three of those guys. I'm super happy for all of them.
Yeah, no, for sure. Well, even with Stefani, I mean that's like you said, unsung hero, but I think it shows that you don't have to be the guy who's center stage, so well known and everything. But and I mean, NASCAR it's a great American sport. So
yep.
I mean, it just shows how NASCAR is different. It's special. There's a uniqueness to it, and I think even now without NBA and everything, NASCAR is getting some more spotlight because younger kids are saying, "Oh man, that's cool!" Like even the finish. So I think it's good for the sport NASCAR. I mean, I've always liked it. I've obviously watched what I usually didn't watch every single Sunday, but I've been watching it all the time now.
I was a huge fan growing up. It's a great sport.
Oh, growing up, I didn't watch it. I watched it probably 2-3 times a month, depending on whatever. But I would always, I mean, the playoffs. You always watch the playoffs. Same with hockey. I don't watch hockey that much anymore. But growing up, you always. I mean, even Burton. You remember Burton back in the day? I mean, I remember all those cars. I mean, there's so many guys that are gone now that were just such legends. That's why it's such a young sport now too.
Yep. Good.
Even Kurt Busch was insane. I mean, there's so many guys that are. But.
Yep. But love NASCAR. I mean, if you can't tell, both of us really kind of like the sport. But we might have to at this point move on to a different sport, move things along, and we're talking German soccer. Bundesliga recently restarted, and Bayern Munich, 8th straight championship for that team. A coronation of sorts for them. Never really a lot of doubt, as even starting the season these days, you feel like there's not a lot of doubt. So, your thoughts on Bayern and their 8th straight championship?
No surprise. I mean, no surprise. Dortmund, sure, they're a good team, but they're not on Bayern's level. So, I mean, no surprise. I remember some chippy comments that were said. Doesn't matter even if you beat us, we're still going to be champions. It's guaranteed. But
Yep.
Bayern's shown their dominance, and they're one of the best teams in the world, and have been. Maybe not as much now as, but the guy. They had some of their older vets leave and different things, retire, move on, such. But it's basically Bayern. Everyone thinks is mainly the German national team. That's where most of their guys come from. So, and Germany's obviously the elite squad. So.
Yep. And obviously, as long as you have Lewandowski and the Wall, the greatest goalie in the world, Manuel Neuer, you're going to give yourself a chance to win. But that team is so well built from top to bottom. They've been that way for a long time. They've been so well managed. I mean, like you say, that team is, in a way, Germany's team. It almost feels like their national team in a way. They're their flagship squad. They are the champions of Germany, and they're the champions once again. And so now moving from German soccer to the UFC, Zoom crashed on JD real quick, got yeeted out of the room, but he's back. So now we're going to be talking UFC 251, and particularly the belt fights. That event coming up, pay-per-views, unfortunately, but on Fight Island. So 2 great belt fights. The champion, Usman, going up against his teammate, Gilbert Burns, who called him out after his victory over Tyron Woodley recently. That's going to be a great fight. And then we got the veteran, Jose Aldo, going up against Peter Yan, who's 14-1, for that vacated belt that I believe Henry Cueto that he vacated when he retired. So 2 championship fights coming up. Kind of what are your thoughts on these fights? What are your predictions? And then we'll get to mine as well.
Well, I think with the teammates, it can go either way. I mean, it's funny. How you said they called them out. I mean, it's good. I mean, obviously, you're not hate for them, hateful enemies, but it's hard to really predict a winner in that instance for me because, to me, if you're partners, you've got to know each other's styles a little bit. So it might just become down who's smarter, I guess, has a better guy in their corner. But and then the other fight, I like Peter. I mean, I don't know. I just like his fun style for claiming the bell. But that one, I'd probably say Peter, even though some people might call me whack. But
yeah. Yeah, so the Burns Usman fight, like you say, it's gonna be interesting.
Yeah, definitely interesting.
Teammates, obviously, I don't think there's anything wrong with Burns calling him out. The dude wants the belt, right? He wants.
Nothing wrong.
No disrespect to him. That should be a great fight. The one thing I look at in that step, and keep in mind, Gilbert Burns is a wrestler primarily. That's where he dominated his last fight against Woodley. Usman has a 6-inch reach advantage. So what Usman's got to do, I would think he wants to keep the fight standing up, keep it at distance. If he's able to use that reach advantage and keep Burns away from using wrestling, so it's going to be fun because it's going to be a real style.
And
a great fight. But I still can't go against the champ. I'm going to say Usman gets it done. And as for the bantamweight title bout for the vacated belt, obviously Jan's six years younger, really, really good fighting prospect. Aldo with a 3-inch reach advantage. He's a veteran. This is one I had a really hard time deciding on. Even if I was a betting man, I wouldn't lay money on this fight. But Jose Aldo, I'm going to say the veteran gets it done and gets that belt back. So that one could definitely go.
One thing you just remember, though, everything that I've learned from watching UFC, anything that, like reach advantages or staying off the ground, all those strategies always flip-flop, I feel like, always in UFC. So, I mean, it's just going to be – I don't know. It's going to be one of those things where it either starts out right and keeps going or it just goes crazy, as we've seen many fights that have gone like that. Like with McGregor, it started McGregor and a Khabib, even though McGregor's the better fighter. Don't comment back on that. I'm not going to have that conversation right now, but it started bad for McGregor. He hasn't been fighting a long time, but – and it ended bad because McGregor wasn't he didn't start off right. So the
Well,
start's very important too. So
that's what Mike Tyson said. Everybody got a plan until you get punched in the face, and that goes
exactly. Yep.
for even the
Yep.
professionals.
Yep.
You know, anybody who's ever been in a fight of any nature knows that stuff really speeds up when you get in that ring. And so those guys
sure.
train a big part of martial arts, stay disciplined, but you can't do it 100%. And so that's what makes them so fun to watch for sure. Also, one note, the recent UFC fight night with the one guy's corner completely ignoring his saying to stop the fight.
Yeah.
Bogus. I already went on a brain damage rant, but the point is that it's very real in the sport. It's a very real danger. And when a fighter says to stop the fight, it's bad because fighters always want to keep going. So absolutely ridiculous of his corner. Shame on them.
But I know, but don't crucify him too much because I know I agree that I'm not gonna get it wrong.
But literally telling you, but just
I know. But sometimes if you're going into a game and you don't want to play a 6'5" black kid who can windmill and you're my height, like you're shorter, like 5'2", you want to get dunked on, you tell your coach, "Yeah, coach, I'm not going out and play." Coach tells you to go out there. I'm not saying it's this case this time, but sometimes their intention always isn't bad. So I mean, this one's pretty evident that it was bad, but
yeah, how he kept repeatedly telling him to stop it, and plus,
yeah, I know,
the 6'5" dude windmills on your face, you live to see another day.
If it's recorded, that kid Zion.
I've never seen anybody receive a serious injury from a poster dunk. I have not seen it yet.
I mean, it's pretty mental, bro. The kid the little white kid that Zion blocked, it had damaged him for a long time, bro.
Okay. Well, I guess we could make that comparison, but
no. Anyways, no, I completely agree with you. Though I mean, that was total bullcrap, and obviously, I watched the press conference, not press conferences, the analysis afterwards on a couple different channels with mainly on ESPN2, but with what's it? The UFC. What's this guy's name? The guy that's the UFC specialist, the Hispanic guy. But he was going on a tear about how horrible that is too. So it's definitely a thing that needs. Definitely a thing that's this highlights the problem. So.
Yep, and big shout outs to the commission, the officials for stopping that fight, stepping in and succeeding where his corner could not. Just wanted to point that out before we move on, because PGA is back. Golf is back. It's our next topic. We saw Daniel Berger win an event. We saw Webb Simpson win an event in those first two events. JD, I know you're a big golf fan, so what is your take on the return of golf in these first two events we've had?
Well, it's good to see the PGA Tour back. Obviously, people have been golfing before this and everything, but I mean, one thing that I've like, I mean, I don't care for some of these golfers, but I don't care for this guy's okay. Bryson DeChambeau, who I want to talk about real fast. I mean, he's got his drive up, obviously, since I've seen him golf, since we've all seen him last golf. But he's averaging 324, I think it is now, which is insane. The dude's jacked. I mean, he's not. Here's the thing. He's not Brooks Koepka. He's not an idiot. I mean, I remember I went to Medina right over here when they had the Medina Invitational there, and Brooks Koepka. I was up on their patio up here, and Brooks Koepka was walking downstairs. Everyone's trying to say hi to him, and I don't care for Brooks that much, but Brooks. No offense, if obviously Brooks is never gonna hear this, but if I was actually on a show, and Brooks might watch this. No offense to you, Brooks, but you're an idiot. He's not really fan friendly, and so like,
dude, the thing is, hear more. You got a Brooks Koepka story, like for real, like.
Oh, dude, I got a lot of PGA stories, bro. The guy who won the British Open, the Scottish dude. He was like the first Scottish dude. You know what I'm talking about?
I don't right now, no.
I got a signature actually, but he was a jerk. I mean, some of these guys are just not the nicest. I mean, sure, they probably tired of fans. I'd hate fans too, but like, bro, get a little smile on your face. It wasn't even the actual round of golf. It was the practice rounds. I mean, like, and also, I mean, that was when I met Tiger too. Did I tell you that I met Tiger?
I did hear you met Tiger. Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, Tiger's he's so laid back. He's chill. He's so. I mean, Tiger's like.
Tiger's a legend.
Here's the funny thing: the athletes that are elevated so high, even the ones that are good or even just saying, they're actually like good, genuine, nice people.
Yep.
So I mean, that's the thing that goes a long way. And no disrespect. I mean, obviously, I'm not saying those guys are all jerks and everything, but I'm just saying the vibe that I got was I don't care for Brooks Koepka after that ever again, really. But
Well,
anyways, the
well,
reason
that's
I
a good
brought
point.
the reason I brought Brooks Koepka up too is because he reminded me of Bryson DeChambeau. They're similar built to drive the ball all the way down there. But
Well, real quick, you do bring up a good point, like that the best athletes oftentimes are the best people as well, because you can't take anything for granted. Like Kobe, he had that same drive that he brought to the basketball court,
oh yeah,
other aspects of life. Like you have to work so hard to get there that oftentimes you don't look back and think that you had it made. Oftentimes
of
those guys
course,
aren't
of course.
egotistical, but that's just an observation. Back to it.
Of course. No, of course. And man, I wish I would have met Phil that day. I bet you Phil's really chill dude too. I mean, I didn't just meet Rory or anything. He was practicing. I walked along where he was practicing and everything. But Rory seems like just a chill dude from England. I'm like, it's another. I mean, growing up, obviously Tiger's. Everyone, my diehard. I mean, everyone loves Tiger. But
Yep.
I loved Rory from his first time I saw him on the PGA Tour. I'm like, that kid's gonna be someone special.
Yep.
I mean, my brother got me into him, to be honest, but because he's a young guy and sometimes fans, because my brother Ben likes golf, but he got me first started to like Rory, and I saw Rory grow since I was little. And Rory's phenomenal. I remember even one time his mom got mad at him for going overseas to golf in a PGA Tour event. But I mean, some of these athletes are just great, and so to see the PGA Tour back, even though I'm sometimes watching AFL or different sports I'm focusing on, it's still something great, and I'm going to be looking forward to especially seeing Tiger come and do some damage. I think Tiger looks good, but
Yep.
PGA
Really
is great
excited
to have
to
that.
see him back. One thing we haven't seen yet.
For sure. I mean, PGA is great.
Yep.
But the best part of it too, I think it's going to be, is seeing not just sports starting to come back, but the true patriarchs. I don't want to say patriarchs, so that's a bad word, but the sports that I've been around, really long times, especially golf during the wars was a, popular thing coming home to do and everything. But sports like that, it's great to see, true American sports.
Yep. I was going to say baseball, the true American sport, but we don't have that back yet.
Yeah, well, yeah, it's coming though. It's coming.
But
That's a frustrating story.
Here on Coronavirus Sports Boredom Show, we talk about sports that are happening, not ones that are not. So.
Well, the NBA is gonna happen, so we can talk about that a little bit.
I guess. But one other sport that came back, and we do kind of have to talk about a little bit, is boxing. Following the UFC into being another individual fight sport to return. We saw some good fights, some not so good fights, some mismatched fights. So kind of your take on the whole thing, and then two really good fighters we saw. One in the initial one, we saw Shakur Stevenson, the really exciting young prospect. Some people saying he's the next Floyd Mayweather. And then we saw Emmanuel Navarrete as well recently, just this past weekend. So your thoughts on the return of boxing, how it all worked out, and particularly the future of those two guys.
Well, first off, boxing is good to have back. Again, like UFC, it's a brain damage sport, but it's a hard sport too. I mean, probably one of the hardest sports to really crack down, have the stamina and everything. But I was watching some top rank the other night, and how it builds from 4 rounds to 6 to 8. Then goes to the main event. It's good to see people. I mean, I think there's more mutual respect for guys a little bit. I shouldn't say that because there's been some outrageous claims because one guy stepped out and this guy's, I've been training, blah blah blah, you're an idiot, blah 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 blah. But there's been some mutual respect, which I'd like to see.
Yep.
In any sport, so that's been good to see. And then as regarding the young guys, it comes to a point, even with NASCAR, that the old guys, I mean, I've been growing up watching, are starting to fade away. Yep. Obviously, Mayweather's, basically out of the game. Pacquiao's almost out of the game.
Mayweather's job is now beating up McGregor if he ever wants to come back.
McGregor would kill Mayweather in UFC if they ever fought there.
No doubt about that.
And if they boxed, I love McGregor. Mayweather, I have respect for him. I mean, I like McGregor and Pacquiao better. And also that Pacquiao Mayweather fight was, if they fought again, Pacquiao would kill Mayweather. That was all for money and show. Everyone knows that. That was baloney fight, bro. That was the worst pay-per-view I've ever, about when I purchased, my dad purchased it, but worst pay-per-view I've ever seen.
Mayweather has just not lost at all. Just putting that out there.
Okay, but I know, Mayweather's a good fight, but I'm saying that Mayweather-Pacquiao fight was complete bull. And they were just dancing around, and the only reason Mayweather won was because he threw more punches and landed more. It was garbage. Everyone knows that. Even Mayweather and Pacquiao know it. That's why if they happened again, I'd take Pac-Man, but they're not in their prime, so it's garbage anyways. Be two old guys fighting.
All right.
But also, I've met Pacquiao. He's a really chill dude too. Yeah, I met him in DC.
Dude, you got connections, bro.
Again, he's a good Christian guy too. So I mean, guys like that though, good guys, they stand out. Obviously, anyways, I keep getting off into tangents today, man. Yeah. My point was, what was my point? Oh, young guys taking the sport. I like seeing the young guys running up in every sport. So it's good to see that happening. I'm not talking anymore. These tangents are crazy. Anyways, yeah.
Yeah. So I'm with you on the respect. That I think that's been really cool because here's the thing about boxing. You see, whenever two guys throw down, fight each other tooth and nail, blood, sweat, and tears for 6, 8, 10, 12 rounds, you come out of that with respect for a dude. Because when you fight somebody and they look you in the eye, punch you in the face, and you do the same, that's where you are able to, at the end of that, what kind of a person they are. They're not somebody who's going to back down. And that's why, shout outs to a great YouTube channel, Street Beefs, backyard fights, settling beefs as opposed to gang violence. That's why you're going to fight it out. You're going to settle your beef with somebody instead of with guns and knives, with fists. And at that point, it's a heck of a lot easier to salt the beef away when you've just fought somebody over it. And so that respect has been cool to see. Obviously, a couple of rocky fights, a couple of lopsided fights, but overall, it's just been nice to have the sport back. Dangerous sport, but also one with a ton of respect. And as for Shakur Stevenson, Emmanuel Navarrete, Stevenson's a beast. I mean, this dude is – people say he's like Floyd Mayweather at this stage in his career. You could argue he can be better than Floyd Mayweather. And that's saying something when you're talking about a dude who's 50-0. So Shakur Stevenson, his speed is there, his power is there, his defense, which is the thing that most young fighters don't quite have, is unbelievable. Perhaps even better than Mayweather's at that stage. All he's got to do, right, like a lot of the great fighters, you talk about the Mayweather-Pacquiao rivalry, Tyson and Holyfield and the guys he fought back in the day. Ali and Larry Holmes and Sonny Liston and so many great fighters back then. Shakur doesn't really have himself a rival yet. And that's the only thing that's unfortunate. I think he can beat up anybody in his weight class right now. I think that all he's got to do is go ahead and unify, become the undisputed champion. And unfortunately, I feel like he doesn't have someone where he can quite test his prowess yet. So hopefully we see something like that emerge for him.
But as for Navarrete, it takes drive too. It takes drive. Don't forget, it takes a lot of drive.
Yep, for sure. And I think he's got it. I think that he's a dedicated dude, but he's still young. Guy's got to stay hungry for sure. He's no one ever has it made. Analysts can say somebody hasn't made.
MJ quit at the top of his game, arguably, but that's the difference. All right, sorry, I'm getting on these tangents again, man. Just talk. I'm gonna mute myself.
You can. So my point is, you can never, as JD pointed out, you can never take it for granted. I agree with that, but I think Shakur Stevenson's pretty much unstoppable. As for Navarrete, he's got the speed that Stevenson has. He's a great fighter. Took a loss early in his career, and he's been on fire ever since. But where he can take a step forward, I think he needs to add a little bit more power. He's more of a TKO guy, a flurry of punches guy. He doesn't quite have that knockout power yet. He can develop that. He'll be pretty much unstoppable. And then the jab is just not a big part of his style. So if he can get his power down, become more effective with his jab, it'll open up more lanes to him. he'll be pretty much unbeatable, which he is pretty darn close to anyway. I think he just recorded his 35th win, I think it was, with just one loss and one
Yeah,
draw.
he just won the other time.
So both those guys, absolute beasts. I think Stevenson is one of the greatest fighters that possibly the sport has ever seen. Though he's young, he could develop into that. But regardless, boxing been a little bit rocky on the way back, but just great to have him back, you know.
Definitely. And, real fast because football's coming up soon.
Yep. Yes, sir. Oh my God.
Packers are just because we're talking about sports and I'm in a good mood. My Packers are gonna take it all this year.
Do you have any idea how freaking tired I am of Aaron Rodgers?
Yeah.
Like the dude is freaking Aaron Rodgers.
Wait.
You guys have any idea how lucky you are? You literally have had two freaking quarterbacks for the last 40 years, dude.
Hold up. Aaron Rodgers is talking to me.
You didn't have Favre and you didn't have Rodgers. You guys would nowhere near.
All right, you can't even see this. Hold up. I gotta flip the camera. How do you flip the camera in this thing? Wait. Oh, where'd it go? I just had him. Well, wait, no, that's not him. Where's Brad? Oh, here he is.
Okay.
You see that man?
Yep.
You see that man over there? You see this man?
Show me that Cubs memorabilia. That's what I want to see, dude.
Oh, the Cubs memorabilia? Wait, you see this guy? He's gonna take my team to the championship. All right? Yeah. No, don't disrespect my boy. All right?
I thought Jordan Love was going to carry your team to the championship, dude.
Jordan Love can go sit on the bench.
I thought he was the future. Y'all traded up for Jordan Love.
That was like the stupid Bears and pissing me off. Dumb NFC teams.
If the better comeback would be, well, at least we had a first round pick.
Well, yeah, I guess that's true. That's true. But anyways, my Packers are gonna win it all. That's all I gotta say, dog.
Oh, come on now. Anyway, I guess a little clunky, a lot of tangents, a lot of fun though. That should just about do it for us. So for Ethan, for JD, so long and stay safe.